My project it starts from creating the peripheral device space, which is the experience of the human perception. So it's merged with the lighting and the color of the sunlight and the community. This approach aims to transform these nooks into vibrant communal spaces, enriching our sense of space within the city.
To me, what's happening here has a connection to the electromagnetic spectrum.
The shift from egocentric to allocentric that you reference. And I think there's also great social potential within that kind of shift, especially this as a kind of a public structure in a city like Hudson leads me to ask, like, what can this as a device do on an individual perspective versus also like a collective shifting of perspective?
It seems like you want to bring the feeling of the city and of different directions and different presences outside the visual central frame to us. You somehow want to bring those things to us constantly.
My project explored kind of tension and relationship between light phenomenon and form. By simply manipulating the moment of wall, I create a kind of light well or niche space to collect the light and create a kind of diffused conditions. And by doing that, I'm hoping this kind of space can bring a space of enlightenment that resonates the educational programs.
I look into it, I'm drawn into it because it's glowing below, and I see this subtle curve. And then when I look to the right, the light's coming from below. It's glowing up.
I wonder if you could engage more haptics. You come over here and the way that this cone is above you, you start to smell something certain that's maybe from the garden on the other side of the wall.
There isn't a clear distinction between the ground for the public and the levitating pavilion above. It seems like there's a more ambiguous relationship between public ground and floating pavilion.
My project was exploring glacial recession and X-ray architectural form. Ultimately, it was exploring the process of time, in particular deep time, and how that resonates with humans on a minute scale, with how transitory our experiences are and our existences, pressing such a vast amount of time into a daily experience.
Began looking at the Laurentide ice sheet and the process of glacial recession, the micromorphology of the silt. So trying to amalgamate lended itself to the X-ray of glacial form.
As a glacier melts, the poetry behind it would be what it's revealing something behind it.
I loved what you were saying about the ice sheet and this kind of sense of architecture and time and how you're able to somehow evoke that. Here is an educational program that actually is maybe evoked, as Steven is saying, in the materiality, this sense of slow moving glaciers. If you're beginning to create a building that actually gives you a feeling for different timescales than this very brief human timescale that we have, that's pretty exciting.
What I thought was really charming about the traditional street games was that there was nothing fixed. It was maybe a game created in 5 minutes, and the game itself is an educational program.
The metaphor is really a good one because to be creative, we need to learn how to play, not have a priori idea of where we're going, but to play.
If we're thinking about architecture inviting or initiating the act of playing rather than they come with intention, then I think the subtlety of light or kind of almost a stage of light and shadow.
It leads to this question on a meta level. What is space? Is it something that already exists and has to be contained? Or is it something that has to be created? And to speak with Kiesler, he would absolutely love the elasticity and the dynamism of the play and creating the space by movement.
My project is about meditating within the space between light and shadow, knowledge and the unknown. I was inspired by natural and anthropological phenomena. When we navigate unknown territories, we look towards the lighthouse for science and direction.
I was fascinated by the refraction phenomena where light is shattered and disperses. So I was thinking about how a shattered shape or disintegrated form can do that. The lighthouse is a link between an individual and the cosmos.
So many times we think of education as needing to be programmed, but in so many ways, a space like this would be a gathering place. People would go there just to experience the light. We need a place to pause and just kind of experience light, water, space. Within a city like Hudson, I think this would be a really important destination.
It's just a space of light and calm. And I think that actually is a kind of public service to make a space like that.
We were so much talking about the educational program. Perhaps it is perception of space or something like this, of a spectacular space.